While everybody's worried about climate change and the future of humanity, I'd like to know who's keeping an eye on the robots. About a year ago, Boston Dynamics released this clip of one of their robots, Atlas, doing a backflip. And he's up to it again. They've released more video of him doing parkour and gymnastics. As you watch these clips, you're probably thinking one of two things. How long will it be before the robots enslave the human race? Or if you're a capitalist, you're thinking, how can you make money before it happens? Seriously though, what do you do if you see a company, they're doing something cool, and you think to yourself, I'd like to buy shares in that company? In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 basic tips of what you have to do to buy shares in a company. I'm going to use Boston Dynamics as an example because it's a bit of an interesting one. Of course though, this is not advice. I'm not saying go and run out there and buy shares in Boston Dynamics. Whenever you are thinking about buying shares, of course you need to do the appropriate research yourself. Step 1 is finding the stock's code. To be able to buy shares in a company, we need to know what stock exchange it's on and what code it trades under. The easiest way of doing this is Googling it. So if we Google Telstra share price, it tells us that the code is TLS and it is trading on the Australian stock exchange. If you Google the Facebook share price, it'll give us the code of FB and it's trading on the NASDAQ stock exchange. However, if you Google Boston Dynamics share price, you get nothing. And that's because Boston Dynamics isn't a publicly traded company. It's a private company. So sometimes you might hit a wall and you just can't buy shares in a certain company. But in this case, let's keep on Googling and we'll Google who owns Boston Dynamics. And in this case, we find a company called SoftBank. SoftBank trade on the Tokyo Stock Exchange and their code is 9984. In this case, you aren't buying shares in Boston Dynamics, but the parent company. And that's a pretty big consideration of whether you do or don't want to buy the shares. So you need to then do your research into SoftBank rather than Boston Dynamics. Step 2 is setting up a stockbroking account. This is where you transfer money into that account and it allows you to buy and sell shares. And all the major banks will have a stockbroking option attached to your internet banking. So Commonwealth Bank has CommSec, NAB has NAB Trade. These accounts are probably the easiest to set up. They're probably the quickest. It's the easiest to transfer money into these accounts. So this may be the easiest solution. However, they may not be the cheapest solution. You'll find that cost per trade may be more expensive. And a lot of the times they will only allow you to trade shares on the Australian stock market and they won't let you go into international areas. So depending on what you want to do, this may be right or not right for you. Something else that's becoming a lot more common is people buying shares with their superannuation. Not all superannuation funds will allow you to do it. And no, you don't have to have a self-managed super fund. There are superannuation accounts out there that allow you to do direct trading. In many of these cases, though, you do need to speak to a financial advisor. And the last step to buying shares is the buying of the shares. So this is an example order page, and it looks much scarier than it really is. So I'm just going to quickly run through an explanation and explain what all the different parts are. So top left, we've got the current share price. So in today's movement, Telstra's gone up by 1.32%. The bids are people wanting to buy and the asks are people wanting to sell. This section here is called the market depth and it's really just a fancy word for queue. There's a queue of buyers and a queue of sellers. If you're at the front of the queue for the buyers, it means you've got the highest bid or you're willing to pay the most. In this case, it's $3.46. If you're the head of the queue for the sellers, it means you've got the lowest asking price or you're willing to sell your shares for the lowest. In this case, it's $3.47. So a trade will only happen if a buyer is willing to come up and pay $3.47 or if a seller will drop their price to $3.46. When you place an order, what you're doing is you're placing yourself into one of these queues. This section here is the order pad. So remember in step 1, we had that code for the stock. That's where this goes. And of course, for this first option, you'll be buying. Now you've got a couple of other options here. So quantity or value. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Do you want to buy 5,000 shares of Telstra or do you want to buy $5,000 worth of shares. It's a pretty big difference, so it just depends on what you're trying to do. Under order type, you can choose limit or market. Market is exactly that. It's the market price. So if you place your order at market price, it will be placed at the asking price of $3.47. If you choose limit, this means you can limit the price you want to pay for the shares. If you're buying, or you can limit the price you want to sell for your shares if you're selling. Maybe you're waiting for the price to drop, and you might do a limit of $3.30 and wait for the share price to drop before you buy in. And lastly is duration. And simply put, is how long do you want to be standing in that queue? Do you want to have your order in the queue for a day? Do you want to do it until a certain date? Or good till cancelled means your order will stay in the queue until it's filled or until you have a tantrum and leave and go home. So that is the three main steps to buying shares: is find a code, have a trading platform, and go and buy it. Pretty straightforward. In future videos, I will talk about, how do you actually pick a stock and what methods can you use. I'll also do a review of different trading accounts. But until now, good luck and happy trading.